Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Business First Creatives Podcast. Today's guest is going to be a real treat. So, you guys all know Brittany Herzberg. She has been on this podcast. By the time this airs, I think it's 4 times, maybe 5. I don't know. Brittany is a regular guest. But some time ago, Brittany was like, hey, I have this friend Breanna, and you really need to have her on your show. And I was like, okay. And you guys know, I like to invite people when people tell me. But I just looked it up, and Brittany sent me that note a year ago. So it has taken me a year to reach out to Breanna Owen to come on the show to talk about email marketing. But the way that she approaches it is so interesting. And I'm not going to spoil it because the moment that she starts talking, you guys are totally going to get it. Breanna, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Coley. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited for you to be here. So, guys, today, this morning, in anticipation, because Breanna and I don't know each other at all. So, in
No.
anticipation of this recording, I listened to both times that she has been on Brittany's podcast, the Basic Bee podcast. And I also listened to about half of her interview on another podcast. And I found out such interesting stuff about her. So, I just want to talk about your degree, first of all. Like, because your degree has almost nothing to do with email marketing. I mean, there is a
Right,
twist, but
right.
tell the listening audience who you are, what you do, and what you majored in college.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again for having me. Like you said, my name is Breanna Owen. The boring title would be that I am an email copywriter, but I'm not just like a regular schmegular. Like I'm not your bro marketing person's email copywriter. I lead with email energetics. So I firmly believe that there's an energy to email. And if your emails are not landing and they are not selling and you're not getting the responses that you want from them, it's because you are out of alignment somewhere. And we can absolutely use your copy to be in energetic alignment with who you are to help your messaging land, whether it's an email or otherwise. But I absolutely did not like start out on this path. And I actually, when I originally went to college, like way back in the day, it was for really boring business admin.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a stay-at-home mom of 3 kids for 8 years. And then when my third baby was, well, a baby, I went back to school. I was a mom who like needed something for me. And so I got my degree in fashion.
And you guys all know, listening to the podcast, Chloe is absolutely obsessed with fashion. And I do say, like, every day, I don't know if Chloe is going to go to college. I don't know if that's her journey. But if it is, she is probably definitely going to major in fashion, just like her auntie.
Mhm.
So I just thought that was a little interesting
Yeah.
tidbit. But you not only got a degree in
Right.
fashion, you
Right.
also got a dual degree in,
And marketing.
yeah.
With a digital marketing certificate. So that was, 2017-ish.
Mhm.
And so we had extra little add-ons or things that we could get. So I did digital marketing as well.
So tell me about how you got into email. Like, why email? How did you start writing
Oh,
them? Because it seems like it's a pretty like weird path for someone who was getting a degree in fashion, even if you had a dual degree in marketing. Like when people think
right.
about marketing, I don't think email marketing is what initially comes to mind.
And that's fair. That is so fair. So again, it was all on accident. I never set out for this, but God works in mysterious ways and I'm exactly where I need to be now. But as part of the marketing degree, I had to have an internship and I was struggling. My fashion internship was very easy. I had a business selling jewelry. I was just able to use that. But I hadn't never really worked in the marketing industry before. I was scrambling for an internship and like my Hail Mary move was to call. I knew the wife of the mortgage lender that we used to buy our house. And I called her and I was like, would you please talk to your husband and get him to hire me because I am desperate for a marketing internship. And I know he has said before that he could use some help with marketing. I actually, like, spoiler alert, I worked for him for 8 years
Mhm.
before we like officially off-boarded and we're done together. And he likes to tell people how when he first said yes to me, he was like, this is never going to work. This is never going to go well. This is never going to work. It's going to be bad. That's not at all what happened. We were great together. And, we worked together for like 8 years. Like it turned out really well. But it was a general digital marketing internship for him. So I had set up his CRM, I had done things. And a lot of it was just like watching him to see what he needed in his business. And then I was going to take the initiative to make it happen. And I was noticing how much time every day he would spend, like one finger at a time, typing out emails to his clients. Like he was still is a very client centric business owner. And so he wanted to check in with people. How's it going? Any news? Any updates to share? Are you guys still looking? Where are you at? And he hated it. He hated it so much. He would like bribe himself with snacks and treats and be like, I'm only going to do 3 and then I'm going to go do this other thing. And then, right? Like if I get out 15, then I'm going to have a golf day on Friday. Like he would do anything he could to psych himself up to get these things sent out. And I was like, dude, why don't we just got your CRM up? Why don't we automate this for you? Why don't we just sit down together and say, what is the entire mortgage process like? What kind of touch points do you want to be giving people at when? What would you say to them? And then I will write emails for it and we'll put them in an automation that will go out for you. So that's what we did. And in that process, I was doing a lot of other things, digital marketing too. I would write sales pages and I would do social copy and I did all the things. But I love email. Like I love it so much, especially automation. I'm the girl that does not like to do dishes. I don't like to do laundry. Like I do not like to do things over and over again. I think it's so annoying. But you're telling me I can do something once and send it out again and again to any person who might need it and it'll work for me? Like sign me up. I'm there all day long. So that is how my love affair with email marketing began.
All right, spoiler alert. That's why she's here. I hope you guys picked up on that. And I did not tee that up for her. That is what she said before we hit recording. And I was like, oh, stop talking. I'm just going to hit record now because this is definitely the angle. And Brittany, if you are listening, thank you so much. Because once you started talking about these things, I was like, oh, this is why you wanted me to have her on my podcast. So this is an actual email copywriter that is telling you that she is writing the emails that I fuss at you guys to have inside of your CRM every single day. And exactly what you said, Breanna, like do it once, do it right, and then almost never think about it again. And if it's not automated for every single one of the clients, at least write 80% of it that's going to be the same and, sprinkle in a little 20% of personalization and go on about your day.
And set in the reminders, right? So if you don't have an automation set up for it goes for you, you need some sort of automation to trigger you to send it, right? Like some sort of a calendar, a task, something that says like, oh, by the way, you need to send this email. Like that's what I do with my clients now even.
So you said something really interesting because when I was asking, and this is of course before we hit record, because guys, all the good shit happens before we hit record. But when I asked her about who she works with, she said, Coley, sometimes people come to me and they want help with their welcome sequence. But then what I do is I ask them, but do you have a post-purchase email sequence? So I want you to talk about this because I talk about this a lot, but it's actually like, that's not the words that I use. And so I found it interesting that you use those particular words because I think about it related to digital products. But what do you ask somebody about their post-purchase sequence if they have one?
Well, if they are an established business owner, if somebody comes to me, even if they say they are looking for a welcome sequence, because as the experts, like we know what's best, right? So your audience are photographers that if somebody comes to you and says, oh, I want to wear these colors and this environment, and you know best, you're going to be like, I'm really great behind a camera, but honestly, like stripes and all these mixed patterns are not going to do you any favors or whatever. That might be like you and your authority are going to be like, hold up. Can I give you some insight here? Because I've done this so many times. So I do the same thing when people come to me and they are an established business owner. If they have served people already, whether it is physical, digital or service-based, because I don't know if any of the podcasts you've listened to, it came up that I ran a nonprofit that we had physical products. So I've done
Mhm.
it all. Is like, okay, but are you connecting with them after you have served them? If after you have done something with them, are you still connecting with them? Are you still nurturing them? These are the people, like the data shows that your existing clients or prior clients are 60 to 70% likely to hire you again. New clients are like 13 to 20% likely. I think it takes so much more effort and energy and time and resources to nurture a brand new person than it does to nurture someone you've already worked with. Not to mention, these are the people you've already worked with them. They've already experienced everything you have to offer. They're the ones that are most likely to be in love with you. They're going to need the least amount of convincing. Like, they know you, and they're going to be your greatest source of referrals and
Mhm.
connections and reviews and testimonials, right? Like, so I start there, right? Like, let's work with what you've already got before we start nurturing anybody new. So that's why I
Yeah.
start with the post purchase if they are an existing business.
And I'm so glad that at the end of that, you mentioned the referrals and the testimonials, because testimonial, voice of customer language, is gold for your emails that you're writing at any stage, whether they're inside your client experience or they're inside of your email marketing sequences. And also that referral bit, because a lot of times when I am working with like a wedding photographer, and I start talking about, oh no, but like, what are you doing after you deliver your images? I usually mention selling products, and they're like, oh no, I don't want to sell products. Like, I don't have time for that. I'm like, okay, but like, what else are you doing with them to bring them back into your
Yeah,
world as paying clients again? And they're like, no, I only do weddings. I have no interest in doing newborns or families. And I'm like, okay, but also these people are the ones that are going to bring you the referrals. And when they get someone who has given them like good word of mouth, those people are even more likely to hire you than someone that you are trying to find cold off of the internet. So
right.
every time someone tells me, oh no, but I don't need to like bring them back into my world to rehire me, well, that's fine. There is value outside of if there's, never an opportunity to work with you again. Because one of the funny things is like wedding photographers are like, no, I don't want to work with them again. If they get divorced and they get remarried, that's going to be awkward. And I
Well,
always start laughing because but there are other ways that you can increase your client lifetime value with them other than having them rehiring you. Yes.
they'll be your greatest source of referrals, like what you were saying. And the best way to do that is to keep top of mind. It's
Mhm.
the top of mind awareness. So I think of a wedding photographer, like you could have a whole nurture sequence, a post service nurture sequence that goes out like once a month, that first year of marriage, where maybe it's like marriage tips or like fun date night ideas. Like how do you like think about where they're at now?
Mhm.
Their first year of marriage. And you could have an email that goes out on their 1 year anniversary with like a couple of your favorite photos from them or something if you really wanted to put that personal touch on it or link back to their wedding album or something like that. Like be top of be top of mind for them. Like you
I,
can serve them well beyond here are your photos. I mean, I've been married almost 16 years and gosh, I would love to be able to go down memory lane,
mhm.
right? Like if somebody to prompt that and remind that, and at some point you're like, gosh, is it our anniversary? Somebody be like, oh, somebody remembered. I'm so grateful somebody remembered. Like there's so much more to it.
No, and I really love that all of those ideas that you gave a wedding photographer, none of them were like, come by this, because it
Yeah.
is about nurturing. And if you are top of mind, if you are sending out these emails and they are like date ideas and things like this has nothing to do with the actual service that you provided them, but you are still providing them with like something good for them to read and
Yeah.
something that they can implement inside of their lives.
Well, and if you did want to keep it photography related, but you didn't want to ask them to buy anything and you are not venturing outside of the world of weddings, okay, but you are still a photographer, you still have some expertise. What about some pose ideas, right? Like, what about like, hey, it's your 1 year anniversary. If you want to take like 1 year photos to have, capture the memory of every year, like here's some posing ideas. Here are some ways to recreate some magic, right? Like there there are other ways that you could serve them still within the realm of what you do without it necessarily being anything else
Yeah.
of like another service or something.
So when it comes to someone, okay, because we already talked about post-purchase emails, when it
Yeah.
comes to someone sitting down and like starting to think of all of those touch points and what the
Mhm.
emails need to include for their customer journey, what are the common mistakes that you see people make when they sit down to actually start that process?
I think the biggest one is going for perfect from the get-go. I think we can get so flustered, and I think people do get so flustered with, well, I don't know what to say, or I don't know how to say this. And it's like, really just then start with the easiest thing for you. And I mean, that's how I do it. I go lazy before I go fancy.
Mhm.
So, and I say that because like I saw something recently out on Instagram. It was like lazy hooks versus viral hooks, right? And the lazy hooks were like 5 ways to do this. And then the viral hook was this storytelling thing. Well, my brain doesn't go to the storytelling thing first. My brain goes to what are 5 ways I can do this thing? 5 ways to share your wedding photos with families.
Mhm.
Like 3 ways to use your wedding photos as a Christmas card, right? Like what are, I don't know. So just start with the easy thing. Just start with the basic thing. You don't have to make it fancy or perfect from the get go. And then just brain dump is what I would say to do. Like just brain dump, get it all out, and then you can kind of take a step back and go, what are there common groupings? Is there a way that I can combine these things? What if I think another common mistake is people think that the post service or any sort of welcome sequence or nurture sequence has to be in a really short time frame,
Mhm.
and they forget about the long term, right? Who says that you can't send or have an automated email go out on the 1 year anniversary? Who says that you can't do things 2 years out, even, or whatever? So think bigger. Don't think just, oh, what would I send a week, a day, a month after, right? Like think bigger than that. And then we already kind of touched on it. I think people get very narrowed focus on, well, I'm only asking for this, or I can only do this, or I'm only talking about these things. And it's like, no, meet your people are whole people. You might serve them by only taking photos of weddings, and you only show up for this once in a lifetime thing, but they are whole people. That's
Mhm.
one day in their entire life. What other ways can you meet them where they're at in this experience that they've had with you, or after they've had this experience with you? Like just think bigger. So those are 3 ways.
I'm going to say, I'm surprised you didn't say think human mode, because one of the things that I heard you talk about in two different podcasts was a lot of people really focus on business mode and they're not just thinking human mode. Like emails are a way to build connection with your clients. They don't always have to be like, please do this. Thank you. Like, sometimes we just write an email because we want to connect with our people. We want to tell them this funny shit that happened yesterday, like whatever it is. And so while every email should have a purpose, I don't think every email has to have a business purpose in terms of selling them something, telling them what's coming next, or something along those lines.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's part of the whole like meet them where they're at in the bigger picture than just the thing that you do. I just use different words. We just use different words to say it. Because absolutely. Sometimes the purpose of it is like you are 6 months into being married and maybe you've had your first fight or maybe you haven't, or like tell the funny story or get them out of their head or what, like 100% there's more to the purpose of an email could just be the connection
Yeah.
point.
And I love what you said about, I mean, I'm going to say it in a different way, but we're saying the
Yep.
same thing. Done is better than perfect,
Yes.
because you just need to start. That is the thing that is preventing you from being more effective in your business, is sometimes just taking the leap and hitting publish. Guess what happens with an email sequence? You can go edit that thing as many times as you'd like. And granted, someone that you already sent an email to is not going to get your updated version, but the next person that gets that email is going to get the updated version. And maybe in 6 months, you'll have an even better version. I mean, the key is to get it down, because if you don't ever hit publish, you are always going to feel like you're in that, oh, but it's not ready. Oh, but it's not ready. But think about how many people could have gotten these emails and taken the stress off of you in that time where you are waiting to make it perfect instead of hitting publish.
Absolutely. And honestly, if you make really big tweaks, I've done this before. If you make really big tweaks to an email that's within a sequence, you can copy that and send it as a general nurture email.
Mhm.
You've made enough changes that it can do a twofer for you, and you can send it to other people. Like, I guess it depends on which email you're tweaking, right?
Mhm.
But you could still make it go out in other ways.
No,
Absolutely.
I absolutely love that. And honestly, the original reason that I brought you on here was you were on the Basic Bee podcast and you interviewed Brittany, like you were the guest host,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I am a big fan of. That
yeah.
episode is going to be linked in the show notes, everybody. But Breanna went on there and she was the guest host and she was basically asking Brittany, okay, I'm an email writer. I have all these emails. How do I turn them into blog posts so that my goodness is shared with people who are not on my email list? And so, like, once you've gotten this email sequence, like, how are you making the decisions of which email would be good to turn into a blog post versus not?
Oh, that's such a great question. I just got full body chills. And also props to Brittany for being so willing. I was just one day I'd box at her and I was like, I have questions for you. Can I interview you with these questions on your podcast, please?
Mhm.
And she was like, yes. So thank you,
It
B.
was a
Love
great
you.
episode.
And it was really fun. I think it comes down to of like, which emails do I want to scream from the rooftops? Which emails am I like, if I could infuse this, very illegal, don't do it. But if I could infuse this into every single person's inbox out there, which emails are the ones that I would? Like, what content am I like, no, this is so good. I just want everybody to have this and know this. Those are the ones that I'm like, okay, let's take that and turn that into a blog post. And bonus, you can use it then as a nurture to seed your email list and be like, hey, this is the kind of stuff I share in my email list all the time. Or, you can find creative ways to then use that to point back to
Yeah.
your email list. So if somebody is out there who found you because of the SEO in that blog post that came from an email, like it's the circle of life. You can just funnel people right back to your email with it.
No, I thought that was brilliant because I have never really thought about turning my emails into blog posts, but I quite frequently turn my blog posts into emails. Uh,
Yeah.
Again, everyone, please go listen to that episode. It's linked in the show notes. But you guys talked about, okay, if you've got this really meaty blog post, like how do you turn it into a single email or even a series of emails? Because Lord knows when I write a blog post, I mean, it could probably be 3 or 4 emails. There's so much stuff in there. And I would never want to overwhelm someone on my email list with like an entire blog post that I've written for my website.
Yeah, and it can go both ways, right? Like that's exactly what we're saying. Sometimes you start with an email and you're like, "Hey, could I turn this into a blog post?" And other times you start with a blog post and you can turn it into an email. I know, like part of the reason this question came up is because every time I thought about people sharing their blog posts in an email, I felt like it was always the same thing where it was the intro. Sometimes they would even copy paste from the blog into the
Mm-hmm.
email and then like, if you want to read more, click here. I hate clicking. Like I'll be honest. I don't want to click. I opened the email because I wanted to read the email. And so I am just one of those users. And a lot of what I do with email marketing comes from the user experience perspective. What does it like to receive the email? And sometimes it's from myself and sometimes it's like, no, I have to channel their customer. I have to channel their people. But when I'm thinking about me, like I don't want to click to read a blog. Like I just don't. So the whole reason why that question came up was like, okay, what are other ways to point back to a blog post than here's a little tease
Just a recap. Yes.
and go read more there. I'm like, so
Because
that's
then you go to
what
the blog post and you feel like, oh, but this doesn't
I've
really
read
say
this.
anything more than the email did.
Yeah.
I mean, when you said that, I was like, that's absolutely brilliant. And I was thinking to myself, now I need to go through my emails and actually audit how many
Yeah.
times I am repeating because I don't think that I copy and paste. But when I tend to do that for podcast show notes. So I
Oh,
feel like
yeah,
I need
yeah.
to take a little bit more energy to not do that and to actually make it like more curiosity driven, more enticing someone to go listen to the podcast episode. And then when they hear it, they don't feel like, okay, but like I got everything that I needed from that email. Why did I need to come listen to it? Yes, Coley's voice is awesome.
It is.
But why did I
It
have to
is.
come listen to this?
You're right. Yeah. And so for that, you could tell more of the behind the scenes. What was the inspiration? I think so I'm a really big Wicked fan. And I'm a real big fan of Wicked, the musical. And I've seen it on Broadway. I saw it twice in theaters. We bought it on digital as soon as that came out and was available. I have children who have seen it probably a dozen times at least since it came out. And I will sit down and I will watch the director's version, deleted scenes every time, every time. Right. And so, like, there's always more people want. So, what is your director's cut? What is your
Mm-hmm.
insight? What are the deleted scenes that you could be sharing to give people more? And you could still point back to the blog post or to the podcast, but not in a way that is, I already heard all this. I saw the whole movie in the trailer,
Like, what
you
else
know?
you got for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so weird question. And this just came to mind just because we're talking about like the same content ideas in different formats. How do you feel about people recording their emails as like a private audio podcast? That's something that I've played around with like in my mind. I am a very big let's take action person, but I have never like started that. But I'm always curious because you love to read emails. And so I feel like even if I did that, you would still read emails. But for people who love to listen on the go and can't read an email at the same time that they're driving, but can listen to your emails, what do you think about turning emails into audio formats?
I am a big fan of serving people in a variety of ways. So, what I don't like is your emails have no copy and it's only audio. So, but if you are, I actually know somebody who does this. She's got her body of her email and it's all
Mhm.
copy, it's all written words. But then she does have a link that you could click and it's her reading the exact same thing. And it's exactly what you said before. Like some people just really, they like to listen, or maybe they're blind, or they have visual impairments, or they're on the road and they can't read while they're driving because that's not safe. Please don't do that.
Don't do that.
like like Surgeon General's warning, do not read emails while you're driving, please. And like this is where I would bring up human design too. So some people, like their voice and like the physical aspect of their voice is so magnetic and there's so much energy in just the way their voice sounds that or like you want to make sure you're putting the right emphasis on the right syllable, right? Like our we can read the same sentence and if I just write it in copy, and there are things we can do with formatting, we can do bolding and italicize and all sorts of things. But if you really want people to read and hear and absorb your emails, your words, the way that you are intending for them, you have a lot more power and control to do that when you voice it. When it's your voice speaking it as well? To your point though, the action of it, of actually making it happen can, that takes a little more effort, takes a little more work.
Does take a little more effort. It does. And it's funny because an evergreen email sequence, because you said earlier, you know, you can do the emails on automation forever. We talked about 1 year, 2 years. Having an evergreen email sequence to kind of feed my audience on autopilot, if you will, was something that was on my to do list, I think, for 13 or 14 months. And then I finally did it. And I'm like, okay, but at that point it was kind of between, I was like, okay, so do I just do evergreen emails or do I actually make like a private audio podcast on them? And the emails won because at that point writing just seemed easier. But I think I'm back in another situation where I'm like, okay, Like I could very easily pick my favorite 15 evergreen emails where they talk about different topics, record them, and just put them out as like a private podcast, even if I don't continue past those 15. Like giving people like a taste. And then it'd be like, hey, and if you want to read more of these emails, you can get them on my email list. Please come join.
Yes. Well, and if it's a private podcast, you could use it as that is your lead generator,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, so they're already there. And then just after they go through those 15, then it's whatever comes next, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you give them the rest of the emails in written form instead of having
Audio.
the audio version of them. Or when you do record them, you can go back to your email list and you can share them with your email list, because I'm a big fan of repurposing and reusing content, right? Like, we just don't have time to be on a hamster wheel of content creation, especially for your audience, especially for people who are like, I know photographers that you do more than show up and snap photos. Like, I know there's so much more to what you do than that. You don't have time to also be constantly in creation mode. And so, where can you reuse and repurpose things? And so, if you've sent out an email and it went out to people a year ago, 6 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
like, I can get it again. And they're probably going to pick up something different, especially if it's in a different format, especially if you sent it out originally because you wrote it and now you're sending it out because you're speaking it and it's
Mm-hmm.
spoken word. They're going to hear it differently, 1,000%. So I would say also send it out to people who've already gotten it.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned human design. I feel like I cannot let you off this podcast because this is a big part of how you infuse email energetics in your business and in your clients' businesses. So tell me a little bit more about how you're using human design to help your clients write better emails for their audience.
Absolutely. I would love to. It all came about because I personally studied human design for probably 4 years, right? Like, I use it for myself, I used it for my family. I am a marketing expert, I'm in marketing. And so the whole time I would ask myself, but what does this mean? Not just for me and not just for my business, but for my marketing. Like, what does this mean for my marketing? Because I was like, there's got to be a way. There has got to be a way for it also to be in my content and my marketing and whatnot. And I just kept asking the question and I started realizing like there are little pieces. And then all of a sudden, like one day, it literally was this light bulb moment and I could see how to infuse it all. So then I immediately went back and started practicing on some of my clients with their permission. They had full consent of like, hey, could we try these things? Could we try these things? And so I do have there are about 12 little pieces that I kind of like I layer together, because anybody in human design will tell you there's no one aspect of it that exists in isolation, right? So it's not just a type. It's not just, and if anybody isn't familiar with human design, a lot of these things you're going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about anyway. But like, it's how you make decisions or how you speak or like whatnot. So I'm trying to think of just like really basic ways to demonstrate and explain this. So we'll go with type. So there are 5 basic types in human design. This is your energy type. There's the most common is generator and manifesting generator because these are sacral energy types. Sacral energy is very like do, builder, go energy. And about 70% of the population fall into that.
Wow.
70% of people are either a generator or a manifesting generator. And then you have projectors that are about 20% of the population. And projectors are like, there are seers, there are guides. They can see things. They can see the train coming down the tracks. They know where it's going to fall off the wheels. They know what's going to happen. Like, and that's about 20% of our population. We have manifestors who are about 9% of the population. And manifestors are initiators and informers. They are I'm telling you what is going to happen, and so that you can get out of the way or get on board. But like either way, this is what's happening. I don't need your permission. I'm not asking you what you think. I'm telling you. And then, like I said, they're about 9% of the population. And then 1% of the population are reflectors. And they are incredibly rare. It's the 1%. And reflectors are kind of like if you were to fly an airplane and you just have like the dashboard of all the symbols and None of those things are controlling the plane. They're just informing you what's happening, right? They are just telling you this is what's happening with this engine, this is what's happening with that engine, here's what's happening up here. And that's how reflectors act. Like they aren't doing any of the things, they're just telling you what they see and what they're noticing and what's happening. But all of those things can influence how you show up in your email. So if you are a generator in the sacral energy, generators and manifesting generators, they were meant to respond to things externally. Well, if a generator or manifesting generator goes about their email or their marketing in this initiator, informer, I'm chasing after it, I'm going to go get it way, like that's not in alignment with how they are meant to show up. You know what I mean?
I do. And so what does that mean for the email? So
Yeah.
you figure out, you have your type,
Yeah.
and that is going to influence how you should be writing these emails. Is it Does your human design have anything to do with the way that you receive the emails, or is that it's only as you're writing them?
Kind of. So like if you're talking about like if you go into your inbox
Hmm.
and you are, yeah, kind of. So like a generator or a manifesting generator who's meant to respond, they are going to read their email and they're going, are they responding to it? Is this like, do they have this sacral yes or no? Because they will operate very much in a yes, no thing. So if you know a generator or manifesting generator and you want to be able to go out to dinner, you don't say, hey, what do you want for dinner tonight? You go, do you want tacos? Yes or no question, right? Like, do you want burgers? Yes or no question. So they're going to read emails in a very much like yes, no way. Do I like this? Yes or no. Do I want to click on this button? Yes or no. Projectors are going to be looking for the invitation. They're going to like, they need to be invited into things. They need to feel recognized and invited in when they are receiving their emails. But when you are writing the emails, I would say, like, when I write emails for a projector, it's very much from this place of recognizing themselves. So if you're a photographer who is a projector, then we want to make sure your emails are standing in this place of recognizing your own skill, because you have to recognize your ability in order for anybody else to recognize your ability and invite you in to work with them.
Good.
And in human design, people will often say like projectors have to wait for the invitation. Well, projectors can also ask for the invitation. So you can do that in an email. You can ask for the invitation to work with someone. You can ask for the invitation to receive a testimonial or a referral or whatever, right? And so, but very much so, it can infuse how we receive, but also when they can send emails in alignment from that place. Because I think our business world wants us to be more manifester, more initiator, go getter. I'm just going to go chase this. I'm going to do the cold leads. I'm going to do the whatever. But that
That doesn't
doesn't
work for
work well.
everybody. Hmm.
Right. Yeah.
No, so it is, and I feel like, because I don't do much with human design, and so this is why I'm kind of fascinated with this. But I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself, once you know your type, if you write emails that are in alignment with your type, you are going to feel better about writing the email. You are going to feel better about sending the email. And perhaps if I can just take one more step forward, I would say that you're going to feel more confident that your audience is going to respond in the way that you hope to your emails. Am
Yeah.
I pushing that too far?
No, not at all. That's the whole point, though,
Okay.
is because energy is everything, right? Like you can walk into a room and if you're like, do I like being in here or not? Do I like these people or not? Right? Like you can, it's everywhere. We get the icks without knowing why we feel the ick with something. We scroll on social, we watch reels or videos or whatever, and we like some and we don't like some. Like we know whether we can or consciously explain it or not. We know if we like something or not. Well, a lot of the time we get the ick because we know it doesn't feel right. Like
Okay.
they're pushing at us. They're trying to sell something. They're trying to force something and we don't like it. Well, on the flip side of that, on the business owner side of that, if you are sending from a place of alignment, like it's the opposite of the icks. It's the yums, right? Like
Hmm.
type of a thing of absolutely it will feel good for you to send it. and they will feel good to receive it because you are sending it in alignment with who you are.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. This might sound a little woo woo, but now I'm interested in like
Yeah.
exploring this more and thinking about what my messaging is and how I'm sending these emails, thinking about my own type and also likely the types of people in my audience that are receiving the emails.
Well, you don't even have to think about them as much. Like you really don't. If you are in alignment with you, that is what is going to magnetize people to you.
Okay.
Like another big area and element of this is the human design motivation. There are 6 types of motivation. We all have one. So it's not one of those of, oh gosh, how do I create content that will resonate and speak to all 6 types of motivation? You want to create content that is aligned with your
You.
motivation because when you are aligned, that is what activates other people. That's what magnetizes them to you. And that's what gets them to take that action to make them feel good about saying yes to working with you. So it's really like if you can get in alignment with who you are, then the energetic flow is there.
It's there. Breanna, do you have stuff on your website that people can go read to hear more about this?
On my website, well, I do most of this actually in email. So, but I know, right?
I mean, who would have thunk? That should have been what I said to start with.
But on my website, you can absolutely owenyourmark.com/links. And there are a couple of different entry points to get into my email list, depending on which one fits your fancy, whether you want to grow your email list or if you're interested in sending more automated emails, but you don't want to lose that personal touch.
Mm-hmm.
I do have like a free guide on there about make it automated, but keep it personal. So
My audience has heard that phrase before, probably more times than anybody cares to recount.
because it works.
It works. I know it works, which is the whole reason that Brittany was insistent that I bring you on this podcast.
I love it.
Breanna, I loved our conversation and I'm so
So
excited to
fun.
chat with you later and more about this because, guys, I did book a call so that I can discuss my emails with Breanna before we
Yes.
got on this interview. So,
Yes.
again, if you would like to connect with her, it was Owen Your Mark on Instagram and also owenyourmark.com for her
Mhm.
website. Breanna, I'm going to have you back. I
Thank
don't
you
know
so
what I'm going
much.
to have you come talk about next time, but we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, well, we can definitely talk brainstorm ideas. Or if people have questions, I'm happy to answer specific questions if they email you or ask
Hmm.
you or like, hey, I want to know this from Breanna. I am a
Okay.
generator. I'm here to respond. So
So maybe I will try an email
there you go.
with this podcast episode to say Brianna's going to come back on the podcast at some point. If you have any specific questions, please let me know. And guys, if you decide listening to the podcast and you're not on my email list, please come join me. I talk about
Yes.
all kinds of business and random shit on my email list, but it is hi@coleyjames.com if you just want to drop me an email.
I love
All
it.
right.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a joy chatting with you and connecting with your audience.
Yes, ma'am. Finally meet you like face to face on a computer. It's great. All right, everyone. I hope that listening to someone else tell you all about personalizing your automated emails and how this is where she starts with every single one of her clients was incredibly motivating for you in your own email journey. I love it when someone comes on my podcast and I can really hammer my point home. But I am sad to say that is it for this episode. See you next time.